So we've only just had Suella Braverman suggesting that Nigel Farage should be invited into the Conservative Party, and now we've got the other way round, where Nigel Farage is literally adopting Conservative Party proposals, though of course the proposals of the mad Liz Truss era and Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package. The launch, the contract rather than the manifesto. He said when you use the word manifesto it sounds like a lie. Well, a lie by any other name, let's call it a contract, it's still a lie. And what Nigel Farage proposes is pure deceit, and he defends himself by saying, well, we're not going to be in power, we're going to be in opposition, so it's just an opportunity to bandy around a bit of debate about the proposals and to get the things on the table. So this is effectively Liz Truss's policies without the splendour of Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package, but with the sort of leer of Richard Tice and the nod, wink, wink of Mr. Farage. It is self-indulgent in the extreme, but actually there's a lot of very interesting proposals there. NHS reform, a mixed model of combining insurance and vouchers. So if you can't see a GP within 3 days, you get a voucher to go private. Tax reforms, major income tax cuts, including raising the personal allowance threshold to £20,000. Perfect. Really good idea. Reducing the higher rate threshold to £70,000. And one of the problems that we've had in this country is because we've had such reverence for property, and property has diminished in price, we've not had that sort of American obsession with investing and with promoting and with spreading money around. We've had people like the Duke of Westminster just sort of holding on to it and seeing his property portfolio reduce in value. So he's no longer the richest person in London. Of course not, because it's all invested in property, and property prices have gone down. Instead, when you make money, as to quote Dolly Levi, who of course I hope soon everybody will be going to the Palladium and watching the newly elevated Dame Imelda Staunton doing Dolly and quoting the line, giving the line about money, if you pardon the expression, is like manure. It's only good when it's spread around, and we haven't been spreading. We've been hoarding. Is part of the problem. Support for small businesses, encouraging growth and reducing regulatory burdens. Of course we need to do that. Net migration, aiming to reduce net migration to zero. It's absurd. Unlike Truss's rapid and unfunded tax cuts, Farage would say that his plans include cost-saving measures to offset the expenses. So he's not going to fall into the same trap of destabilising the system that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng fell into. Well, no, because he's not going to be in power. And critics argue that his ambitious goals could still destabilise the economy, but supporters see them as simply being bold reforms aimed at addressing long-standing issues, and he sees them as simply an opportunity for discussion. And I see them as ideas filched from somebody else. It was a very slick presentation by Farage and by Richard Tice, and I must say there were points in the delivery and the presentation where I thought, it's very convincing. And then I looked at the figures and I looked at the detail and I thought, actually, it doesn't really add up. This is the sort of election manifesto which is put up by a party that has no chance of success. It's like an election manifesto from the old Liberal Party. And when they finally found that they got themselves into power, they were in trouble because they had to make good on the promises that were simply impossible. The Labour Party understands that problem, and the Conservative Party understands that problem. They're constrained by reality. Nigel Farage, Richard Tice are not constrained by reality at all. They can say and do really whatever they want. They're simply there to grab attention and to cock a snook at the system. They are there to poke the bear. And they don't care what they do. They will attract attention. And the BBC is certainly giving Farage as much attention as it possibly can, because Farage is the most interesting boy on the block. But he is the boy. He has no experience. He has no election history of winning. It is all pie in the sky. No, I don't believe anything that I heard. Liz Truss on steroids, has said somebody. A lot of promise, interesting ideas. A parody of a manifesto. So much a parody of a manifesto, nobody in Reform can quite bring themselves to call it a manifesto. It's a contract. And like with the sort of contracts that you see in schools, it's nonsensical. I've been into so many schools recently where the head teachers have said, oh, we're going to have a contract. Can you help write it? And I groaned because I just thought, this is rubbish. Utter rubbish. The student contract, the teacher's contract. It's just rubbish. There's an employment contract, that's fine. The contract between students and teachers, or the school and the students, in order to be taught. This is just another form of manipulation, and it's wordplay. And you either use words which have a real meaning, or you shut up. Farage, frankly, well, I wouldn't like him to shut up because I find him entertaining, but I think he should go back on stage where he belongs. He'd be much better off singing music hall songs than doing this sort of trash.